working on my race mower again today. What I'm working on today is installing this big brake kit that I bought. So this right here is a 7-inch rotor. It is a cable operated caliper right here that is gonna clamp onto this rotor. And essentially the idea with this is that it fits on the shaft like that, probably further in than that. And then this caliper goes on right there. And when you want to stop, this arm got a pull, and then it's jammed in there good. Only problem I'm running into with this hub was supposed to be a 3/4 shaft. This shaft actually does measure 3/4, and this guy has a bunch of side-to-side play. So figuring out how to secure this on the shaft proper, that's going to be a bit difficult. And then figuring out spacing, because this hub, you can see how wide it is compared to the wheel spacer that came off of this axle end, which will allow for correct spacing for the wheel to go back on. I'm gonna have to modify this hub to be about this height, so it's gonna have to be pretty darn short. Guys, so I have my disc brake rotor cut down, or not the rotor, but the hub, so it fits as the wheel spacer. With the wheel on, can't even tell it's there. Only thing is, I don't know if you guys can see, the lighting's terrible, but that rotor sits awfully close to the inside of the wheel. So I'm gonna have to try sliding the caliper on there and try and putting the wheel on again and see if it's gonna clear, because I feel like this might be a really, really tight clearance. If I fit it this direction, it might clear, but we'll see what happens. Gigantic probleme, guys. Look at this. The caliper is right now scraping up against my wheel. You can see it's turning it with the rotor. And the shaft is still inside of the wheel. So that's no good. Well, because it's not going to fit on this axle with this wheel easily without modifications, major modifications at that, I had another idea. So this is our complete brake setup. What if it goes right here? We could just make it a transmission brake, and then if there's no input, then it can't go through here, and then there's a lot less gear reduction, so it's more effective. All right, guys, so we're at ride height right now. I just wanted to make sure this brake was going to clear going underneath, if that's how I ended up going. And we'll see here. I haven't really test fitted it with this yet, so it looks all right where we got some ground clearance. I think that's going to be putting us in business, boys. There's a lot of things, but before we're making any more runs above like 40, like anything over 40 is crazy, we're going to put some better brakes on it, because this brake sucks. Guys, so as of right now, the plan was to take this guy and stick it underneath this pulley somewhere. Try to use it as a transaxle brake like that. Only issue with that, if I ever have an issue with this pulley, I won't be able to get it off, because I'm gonna have to weld this to the pulley, and I don't love that idea. Could we maybe replace it where the stock brake went? So I went ahead and removed every bit of the original brake. This is not a factory piece. This can disappear in a few minutes here once we figure it out. This, look at this. Bam! If we just get this close to center and then weld this thing right to the shaft, then we are gonna have a 7-inch brake. Yeah, guys, I'm so blown away that I didn't even figure out how to do this earlier when I've had this brake kit for like a month already. Just center this guy up about like that. Weld this guy right to the shaft. Like, why not? Let's try it. See if it goes. And bam, guys, I got it close to centered. I'm gonna spin this and make sure it's good before I do a full weld all the way around the outside of it. But this disc brake is gonna fit on this shaft, which is gonna be awesome. All right, guys, she's on there. It's ugly, but it's on there. See? Sure ain't pretty. That's all right though. Every single weld on this thing, for the most part, that I've made on this thing has held, including the ones that are holding hardened steel axles together in the diff in this thing at speeds of over 50 kilometers an hour. So we're not going to doubt in my welds like this guy. and we're gonna think that brake rotor maybe is gonna hold onto that shaft. Okay, I'm pretty sure right here is where I wanna mount my caliper. So I'm gonna build a bracket that goes to the frame from there that I can bolt this bracket onto that comes off the caliper. And then the reason why I wanna do this is so this arm is facing this direction, where when I pull this direction, that's where it's braking. You can see this touches both caliper bolts and would weld right to the frame. So we're not gonna use this piece, but we could use something similar to this to make a brake bracket. Either way, I'm gonna need hardware for that, so it's probably gonna be a tomorrow thing, in which case you may even see me at my work with this thing. All right, guys, I'm just scheming out an idea here for the brake setup. I got this piece of bracket right here. It's got 2 holes drilled in it, and it's been notched out for that caliper. Now, just getting this guy mounted to this side of the frame, and then eventually, once I get home, figuring out a cable, because I forgot to bring it with me today. All right, guys, so I got my brake caliper kind of installed on there. It's a full floater, so the bracket doesn't have to be perfectly straight, and it isn't, but whatever. Now I just need a brake handle, and this mini quad is gonna serve as the purpose. This guy has got rammed into a fence really hard like 10 years ago and just destroyed the whole front end of it. The control arms are bent. There's a bunch of bent up stuff in the front, and it's a Chinese 50, so not really worth our time to fix. But it was free, so we're gonna take it and undo these two, pull this brake assembly off, and stick it on that thing. Okay, guys, welcome back. We're back at my house, and I've installed some of the brake parts that we got. So, in under here is our rotor and caliper assembly. With the cable, we have the cable running down out there through the dash and up to this grab handle. I had to cut this to get this guy on, but I think I'm just gonna electrical tape it back together or something. Yeah, something definitely piled up. That's really not good. All right, guys. I think I might have piled the transmission up in this. We'll have to see here. It will not come out of reverse, but the brakes worked really good. All right, guys. I think the transmission was just bound up somewhere internally from this brake, because I just rammed on the brake really hard and then it kind of stopped, and then it would only go into reverse. But now I can go into a number of different gears here and rotate the axle from the pulley. Seems to be fine. The one thing I did notice though is that the shifter shaft bolt is basically falling out. Check out this play that I have right here. No wonder I've been so sloppy shifting recently. All right, guys, so these brakes drag really hard on this thing because the caliper ultimately is not the right size for this rotor. Even though it came as a kit, it does not seem to fit together nearly as well as it should. So right now I have to leave the bolts that mount. There's a bit back here. You guys probably can't see it because it's too dark. It's dark again. But there is a bit right there. I'll show you on this other caliper I have. This right here, and I have to have these bolts cracked and probably like turned out a little bit to make sure the pads doesn't drag too bad. So that's not awesome because then this whole bit of the caliper could flex and come off at some point, which is not good. So what I did to remedy this is, like I said, I have a second caliper. There is one on the tractor still, and now there's one here too. So what I ended up doing, well, that fell apart. That's no good. Anyways, I ended up taking this little bit right here, which was a piece that went between this brake pad and the original brake caliper, shaved it down so it fit between these two bolt holes. And so now I can fit the pads together, clamp this down so it's now shimmed out a little bit, and it fits perfect on this rotor where it doesn't quite drag until you start pulling on the handle. All right, guys, I got the brake caliper with the shim in it installed. It's now 8:30 at night on a different night. So we're gonna go for a quick drive, making sure the brakes work and all that. Then we're gonna go do a proper speed run into top gear, and we'll see if we can hit 60. Uh-oh. I'm gonna have to push this thing half a mile back down the road, but we hit 60, so I'm gonna call that a win. Why is it I always end up pushing my stuff at the end of the video? Come on, baby. Finally got home. She's good. This thing is heavy to push a mile though. We did hit 60 though, so I think that's where we're gonna end the video. Thanks for watching, and see you guys on another one. We'll see what we do with this thing in the future.